This map shows the rapid industrialization as well as urbanization of Europe. Notice where most of the cities are concentrated in 1900. Again, Northern Europe, these had been Protestant areas, so they were more open-minded to science, thus the Industrial Revolution, and that is why this area of Northern Europe industrialized and urbanized more quickly than the rest of Europe. By the late 19th century, the Industrial Revolution entered a new phase, one of mass production and interchangeable parts for machinery. Now if a barrel on a gun malfunctioned, you could replace it with a new barrel rather than having to produce a whole new rifle. This mass production allowed for a mass accumulation of capital. Business owners bought rival works, which led to the growth of monopolies. However, inside Europe, growth was not uniform. Industrialization took place in the English section of Great Britain, leaving parts of Scotland and most of Ireland dependent on agriculture. A similar effect took place in industrialized northern France, Belgium, Holland, and western parts of Germany and northern Italy. In those areas, people left the farms and moved to the cities. Mass urbanization took place as people flocked to the cities to work in the factories. Those that could not find work often migrated to the American and British colonies. With the rise of urbanization brought discontent as multiple families were forced to live in unsanitary conditions close to the factories. Most of the factories used coal as a fuel in the early period. Many women and children worked in the assembly lines. Karl Marx had urged workers to create a mass revolution to overthrow capitalism. However, wages did rise and gave the workers hope for the future. Instead, many socialist political parties developed. Their purpose was to reform capitalism without a revolution. They tried to press government to pass laws to help the urban masses, unemployment insurance, old age pensions such as Social Security, an 8-hour workday, etc. Technological changes occurred also. Daimler and Benz perfected the internal combustion engine. Automobiles were developed that were not tied to a railroad track. This created more independence. Oil and gasoline would soon outpace the consumption of coal. Bell was known for inventing the telephone, Edison the long-burning light bulb, Marconi the radio, and Pasteur vaccines. And once a car would be developed, you would have other companies forming to develop tires, windshield wipers, headlights, windshields. So you have this mass industrial revolution, or a second phase of the industrial revolution, going from textiles now to metals and interchangeable parts. The vast majority of Irish were Catholics, with the exception of the northeastern part of Ireland, where the majority were Protestant. The Catholics wanted independence, whereas the Protestants wanted to stay part of Great Britain. A great potato blight between 1845 and 1847 ravaged Ireland. 1 million people died, and another million migrated, mostly to the United States. The British government could never pass a Home Rule Bill allowing for Irish independence because the electorate in England was divided. On the one hand, they wanted to keep a strong empire, and others thought it was time for Irish independence. Also, Irish Protestants clamored for the British not to give in to independence. This led to group violence. The Irish Republican Brotherhood was a Catholic organization fighting for independence. They were very militant and often attacked Protestants or police or teachers loyal to the English crown. This led to the formation of the Ulster Volunteers, a Protestant militant group that attacked Catholics around Ulster in the north. Following World War I, the southern section of Ireland, the Catholic area, would be granted independence, and the northern counties were still part of Great Britain. However, tensions still persist as Catholics in and around Ulster still want to join Ireland. To the west of Great Britain is Ireland. Notice the southern part, that was the Catholic area that we're talking about. That northern area that is segregated, that is the Ulster section. Primarily those people, the majority, were Protestant, whereas the southern were Catholic. You would also have the development of women's rights. The women's rights issue was strongest in the United States. As women entered the workforce in Europe, many demanded equal rights accorded males, property and child rights following a divorce, better pay, and also universal suffrage or voting. Feminists attempted to promote change peacefully within the government, but conservatives resisted. Emmeline Pankhurst and her two daughters, Sylvia and Christabel, became militants. They urged for demonstrations outside the House of Commons and even chained themselves to the gates. Additionally, they broke windows, started fires, and anything else to bring attention to their cause. It wasn't until after World War I, when women increased their presence in manufacturing, that they were given suffrage. The United States granted full suffrage in 1920. Germany and the Soviet Union soon followed, while Britain waited until 1828. Other more conservative Catholic countries took longer to adopt the reforms.